What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What Words Are Worth. And this is going to be a phenomenal special episode. I got somebody, that put me on. He was one of the people. I think my first tour was going on, helping him, like backing him up. I was like the hype man for this gentleman, man, this artist, this musician, this great person, this educator, one of the dopest lyricists, man, that's ever graced the microphone. Put out some classic albums, classic material to this day, well regarded, well respected in the industry. Super talented, man. So we're going to get into all that today and talk to him about just the journey, but really about his process of writing, right? So like you hear some of these ill lyrics come from him, dope song, dope ideas, but how does he come up with it? So welcome to the stage, everybody, the phenomenal one and only J Live.
Peace. What's good, man? What's good?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. This is dope, man. For me to have you on here, man. But I definitely, when I come on here and do these shows, man, I always like to let everybody recognize the respect I have for you as well.
Oh,
so
man. I appreciate it. I gotta correct you out the gate though. You wasn't just opening for me, man. It was a co-headline sort of thing going on, man. Man, you was already lyricist lounging, man. You was already
but
you know what I mean?
I was lyricist lounge, but it was J Live, and I was back up, hyping it up. And when you gave me some time to shine, it helped me. It really helped me situate my first album, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like, because I was able to, I was writing my first album on tour with you. You know what I'm saying? So, but I was able to see the world with you and then kind of also learn like stage stuff. So I watched you perform, and that was one of the things I would say that helped break some of the barriers and maybe stereotypes. Just being an artist, seeing you tour, is that you had these songs. People loved your songs. Not like you were coming up there on some battle rap stuff and nothing like that. Right. People loved your songs. So I want to get into, first start off like the origin of J, I guess, and then we're gonna get into a whole bunch of other stuff you got going on.
You said the name because you was broken out a little bit just now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's the name?
So basically I started rapping and DJing around the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like around the age of 12. And I was into DJing, but I didn't really have like a lot of equipment. I got some like the little Gemini starter kit out of the Source. You know what I'm saying? I had 2 turntables and a little Gemini mixer and some headphones, but I ain't had no speakers, right? But I was still able to make mixtapes, just kind of needle dropping and finding the spot and then cutting on the fly. And I was passing mixtapes around in school. So, that was my thing really that got me into DJing, was listening to mixtapes. Everybody from Kid Capri, Ron G, the E Brothers, Special, Double R, SNS, Chuck Black, DJ Ray, G-Bo the Pro and them. And there was this one DJ named Chill Will. He used to do these like ill fruit flavor mixes, you know what I'm saying? And I love blends. Blends really got me into DJing. And he would have these mixes where he would bring in like 4 or 5 beats over an acapella. And I was like, oh man, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Cause he had like one of them 4-track track machines or whatever. You could tell, you know what I'm saying? Cause it was like a studio mix. And I was like, I wish I could do that, but everything I do is live. You know what I'm saying? I found the guy that I kind of came up under DJing, and my man Diesel out of Metro North, he used to do parties and let me on. And he would throw in an acapella, and I would have to find an instrumental. It was almost like a challenge, like find something to blend with this. You know what I'm saying? So I got quick with that, and then I got like real quick with the hands, because the DD20s, the turntables I was using were belt drive. They were very sensitive. So by the time I got some Technique 1200s, my hands were already so light that I didn't really let things skip. So long story short, because it's a long story already, I was doing things live that, would sound like a 4-track machine. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of blends, in terms of transitions and things of that nature, I was real quick with it. So that's the name that kind of stuck with me, J Live. I made it myself. It's not like people was calling me that, but that's the name I chose for myself, because I was like, I ain't got all the fancy equipment. I'm just, I'm gonna do it all live.
And that basically leads to my next situation about like watching you do bragging rights. So that was incredible for me to see, because I never seen somebody DJing, cutting it, bringing back the record and everything, looping it and doing all that live while rapping, which was like a huge highlight of all your shows. And to this day, I'm sure, even I've seen you do it online. You come up with this idea to do the bragging rights performance the way you did it?
So my first single came out in 95. I had an internship with this guy, George. He had a company called Rorschach. And it was my sophomore year in college. I was like, after working with him since high school, I was like, look, you got beats, I got rhymes, let's do something. So he had this break and I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is really dope, but it's got everything in it. You don't really need to do anything to the beat. But I didn't want to just loop it up, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of the pop records was doing at the time. So I was like, you know what? Let me just, go back and forth on the turntables with it and rap over that. So I went back and forth on the turntables, laid the track down, and went in the studio, laid the vocals down. And then the whole time I'm thinking, man, someday it'd be crazy if I could do the rap and the scratching at the same time. But I didn't think it was possible. I didn't know. So fast forward, I'm in college. I'm opening for, I think, either KRS or Redman at my school. And I had a friend of mine who was going to DJ for me. It was like my first big show. And I was trying to show him how I wanted him to bring the beat in on the drum roll. No, I'm sorry, on the break instead of on the drum roll before the break. So he kept bringing it in on the drum roll. So just to show him how I wanted it to sound, I was doing it, and then I was rapping along so he could hear how it would sound. And mid-verse, I'm like, all right, you know what? Apparently it's not as hard as I thought. I'll just do it myself, and I've just been doing it myself ever since.
And then I guess that kind of lends into the understanding of you producing later on down the line, because you start off as a DJ. Most DJs end up being dope producers and so on and so forth. So before all that time, within that time of like you starting off young and then getting to that level of becoming like being able to do your own stuff, who were like your musical influences? Who were the people that everybody, that you listen to?
Oh, man. So that first single came out in 95. I started learning how to make beats around 93. But I didn't really consider myself a producer until I had my own gear in 2000. I got an MPC 2000 XL in 2000. But growing up, man, I was, my favorite producers were, the usual suspects, Premier, Pete Rock, Diamond D, Showbiz, the whole DITC, you know what I'm saying? Howie T, all them special ed and Chub Rock joints, you know what I mean? Man, it's just a ton of different cats. So, first album, being able to work with a lot of them was like amazing, and then, first singles coming up, I was listening, I was able to work with cats like DJ Spinner, you know what I'm saying? And just watching him, he was like I'll say he's like one of my first production teachers, him and George, just in terms of learning like what to do with bass lines and filtering and sampling and chopping. But yeah, those are my influences coming up, definitely.
And then you got to work with Premier.
That was an honor and a privilege, doing the title track to my first album, The Best Part. Prince Paul, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, 88 Keys, DJ Spinner, Probe DMS, M.A. Alaquiva. It was like a dream team lineup of producers. It was very, very, very dope. For a lot of people, it's still their favorite record of mine to this day because of that kind of dream team lineup. But, getting to move on, having the experience to work with all those different producers definitely taught me a lot about production and engineering. I like to pay attention. I don't just run up in the vocal booth and start spitting. I definitely, ear hustle everything I can and get every jewel and nugget I can from whatever producer or engineer I'm working around, whether it be David Kennedy, Kirk Yano, you know what I'm saying, Elliot Thomas. Work with a Probe. I've worked with a ton of amazing engineers, Dave Daw. So definitely anytime I get a chance to learn something. The label that I'd signed to for the first album was called Payday. And they had this, like, the people that own Payday will also manage Premier, and that's how we was able to link up. But then when we ended up doing the first record over, it was Premier, Prince Paul, Pete Rock, DJ Spinner, 88 Keys, Grap Lover, and May Alaquiva, Probe. So it's like it's this dream team lineup, and I'm learning from every producer I'm working with. You know what I'm saying? So that was a blessing.
And then who were the rappers that you were influenced by?
I was a huge Big Daddy Kane fan, huge Public Enemy fan, EPMD, De La Soul. Those are probably my first influences coming up. Actually, if we go back further than that, you'd say have to say Kool Mo D and LL Cool J. You know, like around that whole I'm bad versus how you like me now. That's really when I first came into it. But yeah, Kane was like, you know, a huge influence. And then just growing up listening to Red Alert, in New York on the weekends, between him, Chuck Chillout, and Molly Mall, all the cats they was playing back in the late 80s and early 90s, man. I was just soaking it all up, you know what I mean? But I'd have to say my heaviest influences would be Kane, Rakim, KRS, Chuck D, and then De La, for sure.
So I wanted to expound on, especially like going on the road with you, noticing the versatility that you had as far as like understanding the difference between, we came up in a battle heavy era, you know what I'm saying? So how did you I guess gain the confidence to hand out your tapes and everything at school, and then also knowing the battle era? But then when you're on stage, people love seeing you perform because you made their favorite songs. How did you make that transition to saying, I'm going to be this person as J Live? This is what I'm about.
Well, I got like I said, I started rapping around 12. My first single didn't come out till I was 19. So between 14 and 16 in high school, I had a couple of friends that I would battle with at the cafeteria on a regular, you know what I'm saying? And that was about like, we would like, it wasn't off the head, you know what I'm saying? Like I flow off the head. I don't really flow off the head to battle. I flow off the head to kind of hang out, you know what I'm saying? I'm more of a cypher kind of off the head type cat. Like I flow off the head when the mood is there, you know what I mean? Or if like I'm on the radio or something. But for battling, I'm writing bars about you straight up, you know what I'm saying? So I'm coming prepared. Like, and I used to always say, even in ciphers, cats would be flowing off the head, and I would spit a written, and they'd be like, "Oh, why you spitting written?" I'm like, "I did my homework. My homework is done. You making your homework up on the spot. I came prepared. You know what I'm saying? I got bars, I got verses. You know what I'm saying? So from writing about people, and then just having all of these like braggadocio rhymes, at some point I was like, man, I got verses, but I need to start writing songs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think the first song I wrote, and it's wild, like I was walking down Park Avenue and this white lady had this dog. And it's like she said something to the dog, and the dog looked at me like it was going to attack, like she was scared of me, and I was scared of the dog, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, oh, okay, so you're going to sick your dog on me because you're scared of me, but you're only scared of me because I'm black. So the first song I wrote was called Scared of the Dark. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then just starting to, from one rhyme book to the next, it started to go more from verses to concepts and songs, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that was way before even trying to do my first single. And then ironically, the B-side to the first single was really just battle verses, you know what I'm saying? But the first single was called Longevity, and it was really just about how I felt about hip-hop, how I wanted to be in it for the long run, how I feel like if I'm part of hip-hop, then it really, as long as I'm doing it, it's always going to be something. And as long as it's going on, I'm always have something to do. So that was like the first concept song. And then the second single was about opening up for cats and having to perform before people even got there, and then having people watch you perform when they don't know you, when they're waiting for the headliner, so they don't give you no love. So I wrote that song. That was called Hush the Crowd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Can I Get It was my first story rap, was about me like doing like projects and the parties and DJing. So I just really got in the habit of writing concepts and following through on ideas and finishing songs, you know what I'm saying? That was just, and that became the thing. And as much as bragging rights is my claim to fame, I like to consider myself up there with the storytellers and up there with the concepts, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I pride myself on.
So was it hard for you were you like kind of, I guess, conscious of like, I don't want to get this backpack title on me, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, I leaned into it, you know what I'm saying? Because my thing was, and this is, I'll take this, I'll die on this hill. When everybody was talking about, oh, you a backpacker, or you a what's the other thing they used to call us? True schooler or underground cat or indie cat, you know what I'm saying? My thing was, we had a scene. We made a scene out of that. You know what I mean? And I'm talking as a DJ, used to go to Rock and Soul in Manhattan, used to go to Beat Street in Brooklyn, and you would see all of these indie records, right? And it was all about college radio at the time. So like everybody was on the major radio stations, but we were running college radio stations. So it's almost like you could call it a minor league, you could call it like college level, you could call it a G League if you want, but we had our own thing. You know, we had like, we might not be in Billboard, even though I was in Billboard, but we was in Gavin. We had Gavin locked down, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for cats, you know, they start to see me charting with Nas, and they start to see me getting like, you know, 4 mics in the source and the unsigned hype and all of that. And they're like, you know, the people that are on major labels were like, oh, that's just that backpack shit. Like they try to give it a stigma.
Yeah.
And like suckers, we fell for it and was like, nah, we major too. No, we underground and we cool down here. You trying to get like us, you know what I'm saying? So when you mentioned it just now, almost like it's a pejorative, like it's derogatory, like, yo, you know,
right.
If you want to get lumped in with the backpackers, I'm like, yo, this is what it is. This is true school. We not lying about drugs. We not lying about guns. We not, you know what I'm saying, trying to have like the most fancy, you know, this ain't the shiny suit and a Versace and all of that. We cool with the polo and all of that, you know what I'm saying? We chilling down here, so leave us alone. You know what I mean? And you know, just the down to earth real shit. You know, it's part of my French, excuse me.
Nah, it's all good.
So me, I never really tried to shirk that or try to run from that. And when people kind of made me the poster boy for it, I'm just like, cool, you know what I'm saying? I'll be over here. You know what I mean? And it took us around the world, so like I really couldn't complain.
Yeah, and I always thought it was, I guess, like excuse me. I always thought it was like a challenge to say, all right, I'm gonna put a message in my music too. Because you had you had messages in the music too. You didn't only you told stories about social conscious issues, life going on, stories about other people. So always like going on the road with you, I was able to see how people adapted and adjusted or would react to what you were putting out, and you never wavered on that. So just having that courage.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't even about courage as much as I grew up on that. You know, when you asked me my influences, Rakim, he wasn't just a battle rapper. KRS wasn't just a battle rapper. Kane wasn't just a battle rapper. They could battle rap, but I learned a lot from them. You know what I'm saying? Just in terms of culture, in terms of knowledge of self, in terms of, you know, pride in who I am, in terms of history, in terms of science, you know, attracted me to the 5% Nation. You know, and as a 5%, I felt like it was my duty. It just came naturally. It's just gonna come out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to understand, I'm like a teenager or my early 20s. I'm building with the gods from Brooklyn to Harlem. And like every day we just talking to how you see today's math and how do you see this science and this history and, you know what I'm saying, all of this in these different things and your dietary law and trying to be healthy and having all of this protocol and all of this culture. And then you sit down to write and that's what's on your mind and that's how it comes out. You know what I mean? And then like, you know, like my first big single on my second album, Satisfied, was right after 9/11. So I'm talking about how everybody's reacting to it and the relationship between New Yorkers and the cops and Giuliani and, you know what I'm saying, Islam and patriotism and all of these different things. And it just came naturally. But what I noticed, and you probably seen it too at the shows, you get people coming out that relate to those topics and those issues. You know, I got a song, you know, like this, and it's not just a love song. It's talking about like, all right, I'm talking to this girl as a friend, like, you know, how to look out for these dudes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women love that song, you know, or a song like The Fourth Third. I'm talking about I'm in a relationship as a 5%er, which is Islamic in nature, with a Seventh-day Adventist, which is very, very devout Christian in nature. And like, you know, how that was kind of this just sort of romantic tragedy. A lot of people really relate to that in terms of just being outside of their yoke with the, you know, whoever they're dealing with. So, you know, that was just the thing. And then between that and the story raps and then having the social commentary, but then also having the chops and the skill of a battle rapper that could really put the words together to bring the ideas home. You know what I'm saying? That's still the foundation. And, you know, the wordplay is still the foundation. You know what I'm saying? So having that wordplay with a message, you know, like Poor Righteous Teachers or Brand Nubian, that just makes it all the better to me. So that's why I feel that.
I always thought it was dope because like every city we went to, it had people from the 5% Nation there waiting. Like,
Yep.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget. We were in Colorado in front of Fox Theater, and there was a whole bunch of them waiting for you. Like, yo, brother, you know, we here to support
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
And I was like, man, you know, because it put me on it. Like, okay, 5% is like everywhere, and not
Oh
only
yeah.
that, they recognize what you're doing and the messages you're putting out. That they're like, we're going to show up and be there at these shows. So I
Yeah.
always thought that was dope. But I definitely remember that Colorado Fox Theater. I was like, yo, they
Oh
out
yeah.
here. You know what I'm
I
saying?
remember a few shows. There was one in Arizona on that same tour. You know what I'm saying? I think, and it was and then sometimes you meet brothers and they're on point and they know their stuff.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you meet brothers that are just not, but they're enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that becomes part of the job. You know, even though I was young at the time with it,
Right.
It's almost like, you know, that's the thing I love the most about the culture is it's predicated on knowledge. You have a certain amount of things that you need to know, certain lessons that you're responsible for. If you claim to have a certain degree of knowledge, then you're responsible for everything before that. So like you get old heads will come out, young heads will come out, and depending where I'm at, I'm either gonna put you onto something, or you're gonna put me onto something, or I'm gonna call you out for being off your square or kind of fraudulent with it, or you're gonna call me out for being less than on point with it. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be what it is. You know what I mean? It's that's why they call it build or destroy. You know what I mean? So that was the beauty of it, especially on the road.
Yeah, it was
You know,
dope.
you meet a brother and then you kind of just have to examine them. Like, all right, let's see if you're really about this or not. And then if they are, then it's like, all right, cool. Well, now we can exchange ideas. You know, if not, I just be like, look, man, we ain't even got to come out. You could just, you know, we could just be two people talking about hip hop. It ain't even got to be all that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So yeah, man, let's get into the process, man. So what are we doing? We paper, computer,
I'm computer. I just actually posted on my Instagram like about 10 or some odd old rhyme books from the 80s and 90s, you know, with mad stickers on them for those various times and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm very much on the computer and sometimes on the phone, depending on what the situation is. If I'm on a train or you know, sitting in the car or, you know, waiting for a flight, I don't break the laptop out. I'll just do it on the computer. I use a program like you can use like Apple Notes or Evernote. The beautiful thing is you can sync your computer with your phone. So if you're writing it on your phone, you get home and it's on your computer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then what I'll do, I will convert it to Microsoft Word just because I like to see black on white, and I like to basically put the first line of the downbeat as a new line for what I'm reading. You know what I mean? So like if you know, if it's like whatever's on the one, that's gonna start the next line. That way, you know what I'm saying? That way, and like so I'll write it out, it might look like a paragraph, and then I'll go back and hit return after on every downbeat so that every line is just bar. So I know that if I'm like 7 words into a line, that the one is coming up. So that kind of helps me remember the cadence that I intended when I write it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's dope to hear this, man. This is why I wanted to do this show, because I was trying to figure out what's my contribution to doing a podcast. Everybody want to do podcasts, but I was like, if it ain't nothing that I'm into or interested, then I ain't doing it. So talking to Superstition, he does the same thing like writing. He has like a mark where when the snare and the kick drop, so that way when he comes back, he knows exactly where to start the verse. And then you have me thinking about the books. Talking to Pooh was saying like how now some of his rhymes somebody had put in the frame before. So now I'm thinking about how the books are becoming super valuable. All the books you got now are looked at as artifacts, and it's becoming the new art and the new stuff in the museum. Like you can actually put your joint in a case, because you're so revered, and people will be like, "Yo, those are the J Live books right there." How do you feel about, I guess, how the music or how the written work is being like looked at with such valuable? You know, your books, man, are next level now. Like it's not just books anymore.
Nah, that's, you know, they're archives. And I think personally, you know, being able to publish books now, that's the thing I'm working on next is, you know, not just having a lot to say, like whether it be essays or whatnot, but actually poetry books. Because, you know, you look at my library now, I got a bunch of poetry books, everybody from you know, Nikki Giovanni
Right.
to Langston Hughes to Edgar Allan Poe to whoever the case may be. It's like, yo, all of these rappers, it's just verses and verses of poetry. It's not just songlit. Because, like, the thing I love about hip hop, right? And nothing against songwriters for singers. I think
Right.
that's amazing as well. Nothing against that. But the thing about this format of rapping is you condense so much poetry into a song verse that even without the music, you know, if you think about the rhythm of certain poetry, like this whole like sonnets, or, you know, with iambic pentameter, or haikus that have to have certain syllables and lines. So when you're thinking about writing something in 4/4, and having that rhythm to it, regardless of whether there's music or not,
Right.
you can have it read out in a certain way where it's like, okay, you have to take into account the cadence. That makes it its own unique type of poetry. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times I would do spoken word spots. I would hit coffee shops and things of that nature and just run up in there and spit acapellas, but just slow it down so people could really, really hear the lyrics. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is poetry, you know,
Yeah.
like the BDP song. This is poetry. So if you can have whole books of poetry, then you can have whole books of rap verses. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see anything wrong with that. Plus, the fact that you're the living artist able to kind of continue and explain it out as well, that just makes it even more valuable. But yeah, like the old original written archives, definitely worth something.
I always thought it was special to see somebody walk on stage with a book and read somebody's poetry too.
Yeah,
Like even though we're there at the open mic and we getting up there to rap, that beat and everything, not necessarily maybe everybody's thing, but somebody going up there with that poem and that book,
yeah,
it's like a deeper meaning to it. So I always I look at it like that too. When I did my book stuff, I was just like, I want these bars to be understood, and also seeing that there's the same potency without the music. Because
yes,
that's, you know,
yes,
you being a craftsman with the pen, you want, before the music is even heard, you got to be knowing that it's going to move people in the same vein.
yeah,
So yeah, it got to have
yeah.
that potency.
And it's like, even as a written word, you know, reading it silently,
Right.
the words, you know, the meaning behind it, and the profound, you know, the wordplay, and then the, not just the wordplay, but the philosophy and you know, within, and, you know, the imagery that comes along with it, and the storytelling and those things. Like, this is valuable music and valuable writing, you know what I mean? And, like, to see it reduced the way I always talk about, like, the battle between art and industry, or hip hop versus rap.
Right.
The way the rap industry dumbs things down, or assembly lines things, or leans into, you know, the minimum of viable effort, you know what I mean? It's and that's not, and I'm not even like on a generational divide, because you have certain young cats and certain young styles that are still very profound if you give them credit and pay attention the way you should.
Right.
But the things people get away with, I just put it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Like, you
I
just
know,
kind of shake your head at it. Like, all right, you
you know,
got this
because it's,
platform.
it's so many people just able to do it at any moment. So it's like right now, a kid right now could just be like, "Yo, this sound fire." Upload. You
Well,
know.
not even that.
You know.
Not even the fact that there's so many people, but it's almost like, I can't remember who made this point first. I wasn't the first person to make it, but I definitely had the same realization. Our brand of music, and I
Mhm.
definitely include you in that, with all that you've accomplished. Cats of our ilk, I'll say like that. The attraction is the degree of difficulty. Oh, I could never do that. I could have never thought of that.
Right.
Whereas modern times, because the industry has dumbed things down to such a degree, and because the industry is so saturated, and it becomes people's, like, you know, you either sell drugs, play ball, or rap, like it's your way out of the hood, so everybody's doing it, right?
Right.
So it's more about being commercially successful than the artistry, right? And as a result, because the tail is wagging the dog in terms of, once an industry stamps you as successful, the people will listen. It should be the other way around, where once you establish yourself as dope, the people listen, and that makes you commercially successful. But that's just not how it works. That's not the reality of the situation.
Right.
So a lot of times, I get the sense that the appeal of popular artists is the masses hear it and be like, oh, even I could do that. Which means if even I could do that, I got a chance to blow up too. So yeah, this is the wave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed to the degree of difficulty, which is like, I'm not going to get on the soapbox and complain on some old man shaking his fist at the clouds, but I will say, we see you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
we know what
you
it
know
is.
that. Yeah, it's not wrong with stating some of the obvious. And then what's dope though, a lot of I guess upcoming, and some kids that are upcoming, some artists that are out, and some artists that are established are able to still identify it. You have some commercial artists big you up, or like you be like, oh snap, all right, they know what I'm doing, even though they're doing something totally opposite. I think about like Doja Cat, her favorite rapper is Homeboy Sandman. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so they know about it. It's just that they may
by
be
that same token, lyrically, she's ill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, you can't, no matter how pop she might sound or whatever the case, whatever you may think, pound for pound, lyrically, she is talented. You know what I mean? Right. And the talent shines through. Like, I'm not knocking the talent of popular artists. Right. I'm saying that talent is not the barrier to entry to be a popular artist now, which is a shame. But it just makes the talented popular artist stand out that much more. You know what I'm saying?
So how long does it take you to write? So maybe a verse, song, different, hook?
It depends. Like, I look at it like, different recipes. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff is microwave, some stuff is a crock pot. You know what I mean? And that's not even about the degree of difficulty, because there's songs like Them That's Not, which is probably one of my most technically difficult songs. I wrote it in the morning on the way to the studio because the idea just hit me, But songs like Wax Paper, and this is all going back to the best part, there's just, common examples I'm used to talking about. Wax Paper, I wrote like the first verse senior year of high school, and the rest of it, like, and it's one long verse. I finished it like sophomore year of college. I just sat on it for a while. Like, sometimes I'll have ideas. Like, I've had ideas on my third album that I've had since my first album.
Right.
I got ideas that I'm writing now that I've had since, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I'm just going, put this in the maybe someday folder, you know what I mean? Or and then sometimes you just wake up, have an idea, and just vomit it out, you know what I mean? Or if you're trying to write a song, sometimes you got to wait for the beat to really get the idea that you want. Sometimes, and this happens to me a lot because I grew up writing to the radio. So I'll be listening to the radio and like I'd like a beat and I would just ignore the rapper and write my own thing, you know what I'm saying? But like every 5 minutes, it's a new beat.
Right.
So like I ended up, for me, some people would say, okay, you got to write a song and the cadence and the beat are married. And that's one way to do it. Sometimes I'll write a song and the cadence will be specifically to that beat, where it wouldn't work with any other beat because I'm rapping along to the drum pattern, right? But for me, for the most part, I try to keep it like on a martial art where as long as the tempo is approximate, I can kick this over anything. I'm just going to pick the beat with the right mood. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to kick a love song over an Onyx beat. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to kick like a battle rap over a Roundaway Girl. You know what I mean? But as far as the ability to flow to that cadence and have that cadence match, as long as the tempo is in range, I'm good to go. So I say that to say, sometimes I'll write to a beat and then record to a whole other beat. And I don't even get mad at myself anymore. Cause this happens. Sometimes the beat that inspires me to write the song is not the beat that I end up inspiring me to perform the song best, Right. And then realizing that at some point I got to this place where I wouldn't worry about it. Like, I might write to a beat that I know I can't have just to get the rhymes. And then be like, all right, we'll just figure the beat out later. But this beat makes me want to write this rhyme and I need to write this rhyme. So let's get it done. You know what I'm saying? And then, yeah.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so then as far as when you're writing, you prefer having the beat first or the rhymes already prepared? It sounds like you kind of go back and forth.
I go back and forth. Like if I have the concept first, then I'll wait for the beat before I start writing.
Okay.
If I have the concept and I think of the rhyme, I might start the rhyme and then put it on whatever beat I want, and then just find a beat to go with the rhyme once it's written. And like I don't know. I was at this I was on a panel one time and somebody asked me what my superpower was. And I said, I rap like a producer, I produce like a DJ, and I DJ like a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Because when I DJ, I feel like I'm telling a story. I'm trying to hold a narrative down. I'm trying to give you an arc. You know what I mean? When I produce, I'm thinking of what the DJ needs in terms of getting the party going or whatever the mood of the song may be. You know, and when I rap, I'm thinking like a producer, like how are we going to structure this song so where there's a hook, a bridge, you know, a verse with a, you know, a concept, things of that nature. So, you know, it happens any way possible, you know.
Are you also thinking about how this song plays out on stage?
Yes, yes. I got that from being on tour with Edo G.
Okay.
Because I remember I'm on tour, I'm doing the songs that I would do with you all the time. And it was me, Ashru, and Edo G. And I'm watching Edo and I'm like, wow, every line he's kicking, like the punchline is so clear and concise that you could be in a crowd while he's on stage in this huge, loud, chaotic environment, and it cuts through where the crowd is like, oh, like they hit it, like right when he needs you to hit it. And I'm like, I see what's going on right now. Because me, I'm thinking conceptually, like you're going to be in your headphones in your room. It's going to take you 3 or 4 listens, like on some pasta noose, you know what I'm saying? But he's right there with it, like, you know, my favorite, I was on the phone with him the other day. I was like, he was like, how you doing? I was like, either everything is working or you working for everything. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like one of them lines that just sticks. And I'm like, but that's like, for me, a line like that is written for the stage to where when you hear that, the first time you hear it, you're going to be like, you know what I mean? Whereas me, sometimes I'll write to where like, oh man, when they look, the fourth time they listen, they're going to realize that I was actually kicking this thing in reverse, and it's like the concept bringing it back. It's like there's different ways to do it, but yeah, sometimes I'm cognizant of I'm writing this rhyme for the stage to be like, when I say this, you're gonna feel it because it's like I'm talking to this particular situation, you know.
Yeah, I think being on stage with you, you have like a command of the stage, like you know where to stand front and center on the stage. You're not like all over the place. You're like very like rehearsed with it. Like you're not just like up there just to be up there. All right, y'all over here. You're just not just running around. It's
That's
very
KRS. That's the KRS influence there. Because
yeah,
like seeing him perform, and it's like, you know, yeah, it is front and center, but you still have to work the whole stage. So you might
right,
see me on the left side, you might see me on the right side.
right.
But I play with the crowd a lot, and I'll write that
Exactly.
into the hooks of the song. And even if I don't write it into the hooks of the song, after the song is written and recorded, I'm thinking about how can I adjust this to play with the crowd. You know what I mean? Like
Even
when
like you
MC,
being with you, I've been around it. So like, you know, even
yeah.
with the hands up and then the song, and then you got, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Like I
All that.
wasn't thinking when I wrote that or heard the beat, like I'm gonna get them to put one finger in the air and tap along so that they feel how much faster the song is getting. But
Right.
that's how it works out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah,
that's a big
what
thing
song is
for me.
that again?
That's them. That's not.
Them
That's them.
that's
That's
not. Now, that's the first time I seen somebody do that flow like
not.
that,
Mhm.
right? And then and then have everybody do that. Then later on, rock cocaine flow reminds me of
Yep.
them that's
And you
not.
know who else did it? Black Alicious, rest in peace, Gifted Gab. But I think Alphabet Aerobics, it might be the song that
Okay.
came out around the same time when he was speeding up and slowing down it too. So shout out to them.
Yeah, that's a them that's not great song perform on stage. Play. There's a lot of the joints that you did was
Yeah, don't
just
play. Yep.
well rehearsed into the song, into the show.
Yeah,
So as
and
far as
that's important.
in the studio, punching in, or you got to do one take.
Depends on the song. It depends on the cadence. It depends on the tempo. It depends on how much breath I accounted for when I'm writing it. Because like
Huh?
there's some songs, you know what I'm saying? You know what you heard that, you know what I mean. Because like if I have a song where I'm rapping like this, I don't have to worry about going back and punching in. But if I got a song where I'm rapping like this and I'm not really stopping,
Right.
I might say, okay, the time it takes for me to take that breath, I would rather just continuously flow. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do it the best I can in the parts where you can hear my breath lack, and I'll just come in and punch. I ain't even gonna front.
Okay.
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll kick the first, third, fifth, seventh, and then go back and do this the second, fourth, sixth, eighth. So, and then I got to decide when I do that, am I gonna do a slick Rick approach where I'm overlapping, where it sounds like I'm talking with myself, like I'm split personalities, or am I gonna try to make it sound like one continuous flow? But for me, that really just depends on, as a producer, what am I going for in that song? Because I know at the end of the day, when I'm on stage, I don't have that luxury. I'm spitting it straight through.
Right.
So when I write to be able to spit straight through. But when I'm producing a recording, I'm very cognizant of the breath. I'm very cognizant of how much power is in the word, like how much power is in the flow still. Because, like you take that big breath before you start the verse, that
right.
And then you kind of pace yourself out, and that's what breath control is about, being able to have that control to say, okay, I need to keep this much in there, this much in there. I still got 4 bars left. I got this much in there. All right, boom. All right, now I'm about to trail off vocally. Let me find another breath.
Right.
But if I don't have the space between the words to take that breath, it's going to come out on a recording. So that's when I'll strategically punch or strategically decide, you got to take half this verse, because sometimes, me, man, like I'm not trying to make hits. I'm just trying to make good songs, which means I might not have a hook. I might be a 52 bar verse. It might, you know what I'm saying? Like some songs like One for the Griot, where the story changes 3 or 4 times, there's a call and response, but that first verse is like, I don't know, 60, 70 bars.
Right.
So, and then, as I advance in age, what I'm saying? It's like, I don't think you lose breath control or whatever, but the energy level is like, okay, what am I prepared to do in this vocal session right now? How do I want to approach this? Do I want to come back and get it in one take? Sometimes, you know what I'll do? I'll even go so far as to punch whenever I feel like, not worry about how it sounds, just to get a reference so I can hear it. And sometimes hearing it lets you know it better. But sometimes hearing yourself do it badly makes you do it that much better once you heard like, oh, no. Let me get back in the booth. Nah. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I give myself a whack take just to go back in and inspire me to do it better.
How about
there's really no rules for the punching.
How about being in the studio and you might have the engineer or your boys around or somebody go, nah, man, you can knock that out all in one take, man. You can do that in one take.
The wild thing is, it don't even be like that. It's more like I'm trying to get it in one. If I'm in the see, now we're talking about 2 different things, because everything I just described is assuming it's me as the MC, producer, and engineer in my closet. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If you put me in a studio setting with a bunch of people, it's almost like when you're on the basketball court and there's some girls there. You know what I'm saying? it's like, okay, it's not just the fundamentals right now. You know what I'm saying? Now I gotta break out the bag, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
Just like we got a group chat, you know what I'm saying? Well, we call it First Saturday. It's me and a bunch of dope cats from Atlanta. And we had a session in Atlanta where we all like wrote verses to different, there's producers and MCs in the squad. And we had this one big session. And, I've had sessions like that here in Charleston too, with a bunch of artists. And I noticed the difference between me and a group setting like that in the studio was, one, the clock is ticking. So I'm not trying to be the one that's in there. You got 3 hours to do 5 songs and I'm taking like, a half hour on one verse. I don't want to be that guy. So there's that time pressure of paying by the hour. Then there's different personalities that are going to give you different feedback, where one person will be like, oh, I like that take right there. Don't change nothing. And you having kicked it, you're like, nah, I know I could do it better.
Exactly, yeah.
Or the engineer who sees a solid line and sees a really good vocal, like a wave, and he hears a really good vocal, but he doesn't understand as a producer how you're trying to approach the song. So maybe I'm too hype right now and I really need to settle down and relax in this flow. So to him, it sounds like a really dope hype type take. And I'm like, nope, I'm going back to do it again because I got to put a little more. Or like, especially the first couple times you get it right, you'll get it right and it'll be solid and fundamentally sound and in the pocket that you want, but it doesn't have the personality you need to convey. and you didn't inflect on certain words to really bring home the punchline. You know what I'm saying? You just kind of got through it. So it might sound dope to the naked ear that didn't write the song, but for me, I'm like, nah, let me run that back and make sure that when I say this thing, I got the sarcasm in my voice too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like little things like that. So sometimes people will be like, nah, you could do it better. Sometimes people will be like, nah, that's the one. And you're like, nah, I got this. So I mean, that's really when it comes to production, people don't realize production is more than just making beats. You know what I mean? Like there's sometimes I put myself down as a co-producer on a song because the cat that made the beat didn't even show up for the vocal session. And it's like had no contribution to the mix and had no direction for the vocal. And I was like, you know, you made the, I'll give you the credit. You made the beat, you're getting your writer's share, and it'll say, you know, beat by and produced by, but it's going to say co-produced by. You know what I'm saying? You're not even going front like I didn't put in no work. You know what I mean? Because if I get to just sit back and listen, I would love to just be like, tell me what you want me to do. Like it's your song. Like, oh, you want it like this? Okay, bet. Run it back. How was that? No? Okay, bet. Run it back. But no, I'm that guy doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're a beat maker, you're also the session musician. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's actually was my next question. But I also wanted to ask you about, do you prefer to record at home or to go out to a studio? What's your preference with that?
Preference would be studio because then you got an engineer. You got a really nice studios are beautiful, man. They got, you know, the big Neve SSL boards, you know what I'm saying? The old vintage gear all over the place, the crazy foam and the, you know, there's no square box. There's everything is like acoustically treated. You got the diffusers and the bass traps and all the fancy stuff, you know what I'm saying? You're like, ooh, how much did that cost? Oh, it's a really nice couch. Oh, man. Oh, where y'all got drinks? Okay, well, let me get some pretzels for sure. You know, like, there's nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Certain studios, it's like flying first class, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to me, like when I'm doing my little closet booth, that's like I'm driving cross country, you know what I'm saying? That's a different situation. So, like, I'm still, you know, if it's a road trip, I'm down for the road trip. But if I get a chance to fly first class, I'll take it for sure.
So then what do you prefer as far as producing like not just only yourself, or maybe producing other artists?
Yeah.
Or do you prefer the producing aspect over the songwriting aspect? Which one? Or do you did you say like, I'm gonna fall back now on the writing the joints? I just want to put out some artists and make the beats. I'm having more fun with that.
I've been promising myself to do that for years, but I can't stop rapping over my own beats. You know what I'm saying? like this might be the year actually, because I'm actually a couple of albums ahead of schedule. So where now when I make like the next batch of beats that I make sitting right here, don't have to be for me now, because I got, this project coming in a couple months, that project coming in a half a year, that project that ain't coming out till next year. I'm ahead of schedule now. So I can really sit down and be like, I actually holler at you about like getting on this producer record, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But to answer your question, I've been wanting to do that for some time, and it's just like, it's been on my to-do list. It's turned into a bucket list. I want to have a wave where I'm just like, oh man, J Live, you mean I want young cats to be like, J Live, the producer, he used to rap, really? You know what I'm saying? Like I want to get to that point with it, but I haven't. Right now, I'm still in my rapping phase, so I haven't really focused on. There's been more collabs and stuff.
I know a lot of people that's like from our era that's kind of trying to do that. They're like, man, they've tried it. They've dealt with people that don't listen. Some people have had success doing it, and then some people are kind of like turned off, and then some people are like just trying to find the person to do the joints with. But I think it's just part of this. I think everybody kind of want to see what they can create from with an artist. Just like, oh, you sound good with this. I think I tell people all the time, like the stage and phase. At least I know where I'm at. I feel like I'm the Tyronn Lue in my Doc Rivers phase with like,
player to coach.
Yeah, like player coach vibe, you know what I'm saying? And more I say like Doc Rivers sometimes with it, because like you don't necessarily have to win the chip as the player. Yeah. So that's kind of how I always kind of look at it, like, okay, I'm kind of in my coaching phase of things, and you can still get a ring.
That's real.
So that's kind of how I see where a lot of us are at, kind of where we're transitioning. So what about that? What about the atmosphere with writer? Is it morning, day, nighttime? Nobody, you need nobody around. What's your ambiance?
if I had to guess, like going back to that studio question, if I'm in the studio with a bunch of cats and we have to write something to record right there, I'll knock it out easy, no problem.
Okay.
But if it's just like any other time, my like morning fresh out of the shower, like I take a shower, you know what I'm saying, do my little, you know what I'm saying, like the grooming routine or what have you, get fresh, like lottie-dottie, that's when I'm primed to write. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. Like a lot of the rhymes I've been writing lately, or if I know I need to write something, if I need to schedule time, I'll just be like, all right, boom, after the shower, I'm gonna write that verse for such and such. Then I can lay it after that, you know what I'm saying? Boom. But yeah, a lot of times fresh out the shower, or if I can't sleep, if I wake up at like stupid early, like 3, 4 in the morning or something, it's like, bomb. You know what I'm saying? Not even like it came from a dream, but just, you know, otherwise, it's really just about when I'm trying to get things done or when the mood hits me, or like I have a whole project that I put out and then pulled back because I want to put it out properly. I wasn't really in a good headspace to put it out at the time. And it was actually coming off a real severe case of writer's block. I know there's no such thing as writer's block. Writers just got to write. And if it's whack, and keep writing until it's not. That's how you stop writer's block. But at the time I was in my own head, right? So I was writing 4 bars here, 2 bars there, 4 bars here, 2 bars there. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't have a whole verse in me. It's just weird. I'm just jotting down these ideas, but nothing's really happening. So then I took it back to college. I was like, all right, English class. There was this free writing session where basically the teacher was like, sit yourself down, pen and paper. You're going to write or type, and you're not going to stop for a good 20 minutes. No matter what, you have to write something, even if I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. You can't not move your pencil. And I ended up with this ill-spoken word piece that ended up becoming the interludes between this record. And on top of that, when I look back, like Minority Report, when Tom Cruise is looking at the big screen that's all over the wall or whatever.
Right.
This 4 bars, that 2 bars. Oh, that's a song. Oh, that finishes that verse. Okay. Oh, that's a whole, because I was in the same headspace the whole time. So I'm thinking I'm writing all these different verses, and it's like, no, this is a song. That's a song. You felt this way. You felt the same way when you was writing this. Those go together. You're talking about this. You're talking about that. Same thing. Those go together. And it turned out I had the whole project already. It was wild how it came together. So
then I guess that was following up my next question with, how do you know when the verse is done to you? Do you know that's?
Well, I try to end it on 4s. So if I got 14, it's probably going to be 16. If I got 22, it's going to be 24. If I got 18, it's going to be 20. You know what I'm saying? I don't really, because like this is just song structure wise, you know, the sequence in 4/4 is going to be a 4-bar thing. You can flip it. You don't have to follow that rule, but a lot of times I'll follow that rule unless very specifically something's going on in the song. You know, some rules, you make the rules so you can break the rules sometimes, but usually it depends on, is there a hook concept? What's the tempo? What's the mood? Does the mood make the kind of song where you need to come back to the hook in time? Then I'm going to be talking about 12 to 16 like a standard. Is there somebody else on the song, but you still want to keep it condensed because you want to kind of give it to DJs? So it's like, okay, you know, it used to be 3 verses. Now I think people have kind of settled into the 2-verse idea just because of the short attention spans. But sometimes a concept needs 3 verses. But then there's no rules. If you have a concept that needs 4 12-bar verses and 2-bar hooks, then so be it. But you know, you want to kind of, you can make an opus, an 8-minute song if you want to, but that's going to be for the people that really love you. And a lot of times we're writing to just bring people in, especially if you're writing to perform. So I'll keep the structure of the song in mind for what kind of song it is. If it's just a really artistic expression or experiment, then I don't worry about it. If, okay, I got to tell this story 52 bars later, okay, that's the first verse. Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's usually going to have some kind of every 4-bar sort of structure, unless I'm doing something crazy like writing in 6/8 or doing like you know, like a 3-bar pattern or something like that, or if I know it's double time or what have you. So it really depends on, you know, it's kind of like my definition for MCing. You know, what MC stands for master the ceremony. So depending on what the ceremony is, you got to master different things. You know, you're not going to approach a funeral the same way you do a wedding. You're not going to approach an award show the way you would, an indictment. You know what I'm saying? It's different kind of ceremonies. You know what I mean? So being able to master all of those different circumstances, you want to be like water, like Bruce Lee would say, you know?
And then as far as, do you come up with the hook before you write the verse?
Depends. Sometimes
I know some people that they're not even starting unless they got.
Sometimes I'll get the hook and that'll make me want to write the verse. Sometimes I'll pull the hook out of the verse, like, oh, that's catchy enough to be the hook. Sometimes I got the verses and I'm like, maybe I'll scratch a hook or figure something out, and then something comes up. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll have a concept in verses and have no idea what the hook's going to be, and then let the beat dictate that, or vice versa. There's really no way, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no one set way that I approach it formulaically where I'm like, it has to be done this way. But there's a different bunch of methods that I'm like, okay, this one's coming out like this. This one's coming out like that. Like it's like the batter is the batter. I might make waffles. I might make pancakes. I might make muffins. I might make brownies. You know what I'm saying? The batter is the batter, though. It's not going to matter. And that happened to rhyme. I can't help myself.
So that what's it, like? You're one of the first people that I knew that was like an educator and MC. Like getting to know you, then I was like, oh, teaching and everything. And now we're seeing like hip hop, in schools. I mean, now more than ever, I'm seeing almost every Instagram post, somebody doing a workshop, somebody doing something with hip hop. It's all, but you've been doing kind of merging both for a long time. So how do you feel about like seeing this evolution, even though you've been kind of on the front lines of doing this for a long time, man?
I'm ambivalent, and I say that only to say when all of the above came out, I was teaching. I only taught in the Board of Ed from 98 to 2002.
Right.
Fresh after college. And I was full-time music ever since. It's like this is the 30th year with J Live.
Right.
So for better or for worse, for hook or crook, you know what I'm saying, beg, borrow, or steal, it's been full-time music. You know what I mean? So having said that, like I inspired certain cats and I was inspired by certain cats, but I only taught for a few years. You've been in the Board of Ed for years now. Yep. Asheru, decades. J. Rawls, professor at Ohio State, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like John Robinson, author, workshops, all of this stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll go on tour and do a workshop and visit a school or speak to whoever. But the cats that are actually artists, educators, I got so much respect for, you know what I'm saying? And it's something that like, I'm not even putting it past me that I don't want to go off into the sunset on that mode. You know what I'm saying? Right. Especially with like, you see what people like Ninth Wonder have been able to do, the Nas Fellowship in Harvard, you know what I'm saying? I've spoken at so many universities. I've done workshops at different, nonprofit organizations. Right. You see cats like Chris Emden and Hip Hop Ed and the things that they do, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to get more involved in that. Cats like my man Spectac, have very, very heavy in the education space. So I'm inspired by some of the people that say they were inspired by me. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I have not been in the trenches for that long. I've been reputed as such, but I've been out here just making music primarily. You know what I'm saying? So hats off to cats like you that are in the schools to this day.
Yeah, I think it was me being around you as a rapper, knowing that you taught, made me go, oh, okay. That's I guess a reputable job. Like that's something you can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Another example.
Yeah. I just think like as artists, you gotta be able to pivot. You gotta be able to pivot. You gotta not be afraid. You gotta not be afraid to pivot because as a rapper, you got all this pride that I rap. That's all I do. I rap. You don't want to do nothing.
Oh, that was me for a minute. Trust me, I had that phase. Absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody goes through that phase. That phase.
And the challenge of it and the stigma of the whole backpacker true school thing, where it's like, nah, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make this viable. I'm gonna make this work.
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
It's like at the end of the day, as long as I'm giving back, and I feel like there's a younger generation that's getting something from me. Because people talk about how I teach through my music and how the songs, like we were talking about before, the songs are conceptual, the songs have a message. So when the songs cut through to people, like people talk about Money Matters, or they'll talk about Satisfied, or they'll talk about not listening to different songs that the message hits home, and that I'm teaching that way, and that's the thing I'm most proud of, you know.
So, what's 3 songs, albums, whatever of yours that you know, if somebody that doesn't know J Live or just getting up on J Live or does know J Live, what's something of yours that you say, I want you to check these 3 joints out? Because here's the thing, Jay. There's so many dope records you got that are
Thank you.
that are on the album though, that are not at the show. You don't perform at the show.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know there's favorites you might have, like, yo, this is my favorite joint, but I don't feel it maybe a show joint. So you don't
Right. That's true.
It may be personal. It's your personal favorite, but like your fans, people like it, but it's not there. So you know.
All right. Well, we talking about songs or albums? You said songs?
Either or that people should go check out.
Songs, I feel like I don't know if people appreciate as much as I do. There's one on Then What Happened called What You Holding, and it's in 6/8, and like I kind of really get in my bag in terms of the flow.
That album, you produced that whole project, right?
No, Then What Happened? That's, you got Beat Miners, Odyssey, Audible Doctor, myself, and I might even Diamond D. No, Jazzy Jeff. So that now there's a few, like How Much Is Water is all me.
Right.
His Own Self is all me. Around the Sun is not.
Because I remember that. So I know we're going a little off topic, but I remember when that was the transition of you doing it all yourself too.
Yeah.
I remember that. You know, we're gonna come back to this, but how scary was that? Like,
I
remember
felt like I was
just coming off the primos, you coming off the spinners. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this: I feel like I suffered from or got a bad rap for, like, when I would produce myself,
right,
and present it to the people, and they would grab an album like, okay, where's the premiere track? Where's the Pete Rock track? Where's the spinner track? And I'm like, it's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope you can appreciate it. I feel like I'm giving it my all. I feel like these are the beats that go with these rhymes that make this song what I need it to be. But on some level, a lot of times, you know, like with sports, it's about the rosters, you know, even more so than the actual games themselves. Like, you'd rather be in off-season mode, making trades and doing off-season moves where it's like, okay, imagine J Live with a whole Pete Rock album, or with a whole Premier album, or with a whole Prince Paul album. It's like, all right, well, you know, people got to call you back. People got to, you know, negotiate terms. You got to have the bread for these things. And it's like you said, backpack or underground, you know what I'm saying? Shoestring budget. So, like, for me, being able to produce myself was a blessing. And also, songs like MC on the first on the second album, songs like Epilogue, I wouldn't have been able to do those with another producer, because the thing that I produced was what brought out the song. You know what I'm saying? So like songs like Oldish, where like that beat has me thinking about that concept, and then that concept turns into that song. I had to produce that, you know. Whereas other songs where like Them That's Not with Grab Lover, when I heard that beat, the beat, I feel like that beat wrote that song, because the way the tempo changed made me think about the rise and fall of a whack MC. So there's the advantage of producing for myself, is that I can get really, really involved with the concept of the song. But the advantage of working with other producers is that you get to hear, like, oh, what would it be like if Jordan was on the Wizards? Right. Or what would it be like if, you know, oh, what if that Kobe and Chris Paul trade would have went down on the Lakers? What would that have sounded like? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that's actually, in terms of like the very near future, that's kind of why I want to get back in my mixtape bag and have like a sort of mixtape wave where I'm rapping over other people's stuff, because I do so much self-production now, and I'm comfortable doing so much self-production. It's still like, yo, what if I was rhyming during the Shiny Suit era over Shiny Suit beats? You know, what if I was back in the 70s and I'm rapping over Love Unlimited Orchestra type stuff? You know what I'm saying? What would that have sounded like? So, but just, I feel like for a while, people were sleeping on me as a producer, and it had me sleeping on myself. And then I was able to be like, you know what, forget it. I'm just really comfortable rapping over my own beats. And then a lot of times, you know, not for nothing, when I have beats and try to branch out and give it to other artists, I'm like, is he gonna do like what I could do over there? Let me just go ahead. Oh, my bad.
All good.
It's like, is he gonna do this the way I would do it? Let me just go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do need to branch out a little bit more with that. But I've been saying that for years, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I seen there's other people like that. I remember when Eminem, like the third album is when he did the whole third album, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, whoa, whoa. But I think like after time, you just start getting used to it. As long as people start hearing it, it's like that with everything, man. People
I think
get
he did
used to it.
iPhone stuff.
Yeah. People get used to it down the line. They go back and they be like, I really slept on that project because you were doing the beat, so I kind of didn't give it to it's just do. And now they listen now, and kind of go back and check it out. But yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, but I did think about that because listening to you has been so dope today because I've been quiet, being able to listen, and in my head I'm nodding to everything you're saying, like, yup, yo, that's true. That's you know what I'm saying. I'm listening, like, yup, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But also people don't understand that, like, when you make that decision, how internally you may have to sit and wrestle with that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. You're like, okay, on this project it's just gonna be me. I know people are used to this. I'm about to jump out here.
Yep, especially social media, because every other post is like, when you gonna do another song with Premier? I'm like, I would love to, inshallah, as they say, you know what I'm saying? But so yeah, man, it's you gotta get out of your own head and get out of your own way in that regard, and you'd be surprised at what happens. But then also be open to opportunities and ideas. And I've never not been open to opportunities and ideas, but I'm also not going to wait for something when I can do it myself.
Right. And then have you found it to be, was it more of an opportunity to do it just because the independence of doing it and wanting to do it? Or was it also just considering, remember, like during that time and just you're doing music, but you're also learning the business?
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, yeah, like as they say in business, it does help. There's an advantage and a benefit to being what they call vertically integrated. You know what I'm saying? Like I might be butchering the term right now, but just being able to stack all of these different roles so that you don't have to outsource them. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like there's a benefit to that. The fact that I can mix my own record and stand on it and be like, play this right after whoever, and you know what I'm saying? Even if it's not as loud, it's going to be just as clear. You know what I mean? The bass is going to do exactly what it needs to do. And I gave it the car test, it passed the car test. You know what I'm saying? So like, being able to produce and be like, all right, if we was to clear the samples and I show you how I flip this, your head would explode. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or like, engineering wise, production wise, concept wise, in terms of the artwork and the marketing behind something, it's like, yeah, that was my idea. I made that happen. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that does help a lot of times being DIY to that degree.
Right.
You don't have to outsource, and it's just a blessing when you're able to. You know what I'm saying? That much more so. But yeah, I think you just got to make the best of whatever situation you create for yourself, and not even worry about, what if it was the other way. There's like when you're producing, when you're making a beat, the people talk about, oh, do you use Fruity Loops? Do you use Ableton? Do you use, MPC? Do you use, Serato Studio, whatever? It don't matter what you use. You're doing the same thing. Even if it's machine, you're doing the same thing with just different stuff. And then within that one thing, you'll have 5 different ways to do the same thing in that one machine. Like, right. You can use this button to filter it, or you can use this knob to filter it, or you can use this fader to filter it. Just do it however you feel like doing it. You know what I'm saying? Do it the way that once you get that workflow, when you start to get consistent with it, and you really understand whichever machine or program you're using, you get comfortable with that machine or program, you're going to get the most out of it because of you, not because of the machine or program,
Yeah, and just being honest about it, like all of us are selfish as fans of people.
Yes.
It don't matter. Like it could be a musician, it could be an athlete, it could be whatever. We're fans, so we do get used to stuff and be like, oh, wish he would have did this and this and that. But then when it's your business, you start to understand, like, you know what, I'm just
Oh, you
gonna
ain't
rock
gonna work
out
like
on my own. Yeah, I'm just gonna rock out on my own on this one. You know what I'm saying?
right. Or
And-
like, oh, you want a gatefold record? You got gatefold money? You gonna drop, 100 on this vinyl instead of 50 or 30 or whatever?
Right.
Like what's it gonna be?
So I think we just being fans, sometimes we got to step back and understand that also we're hypocritical in that situation. But yeah, so give us I wanted to get back to the 3 songs and
Oh,
albums.
3 songs. Okay, so I got What You Holding.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Nat Turner off of Lose No Time, which is wild because I'm kind of redoing that right now, so that's about to be brand new anyway. Nat Turner, because like just the message in that song, it goes so, it's almost like I hit everything I wanted to talk about. It's a really long verse where it's like, no, you're gonna get this work as a society. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm battling. Like I joke sometimes, like I'm not battling rappers, I'm battling, life. You know what I'm saying? I got this joint called Feel Like. I said, back in the day, you could say it was a battle rapper. I don't even remember the rhyme like that, but I basically like I'm battling racism, I'm battling capitalism, I'm battling, high blood pressure, I'm battling, you know what I'm saying, all these different things, you know what I mean? So like I ain't got time to be battling rappers, I'm battling life, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like in that song, Nat Turner, I just it's kind of like a rant where I'm just like, yo, this is why you need to put some respect on my people's name, you know what I'm saying? And then another one I say, let me think. And I'm trying to pick like some obscure joints that people, like if I pick, oh, that's my favorite. Nah, you don't know about that. I'll say, man, I'll take Worlds Apart, even though it might be some people's favorite, just because again, I'm just I'm talking about society and it's wild because the more I listen to that song, especially with what's going on right now between Russia and South Korea and North Korea and Ukraine and China and Sudan and all of these different things. Like if you listen to that song, it kind of just puts it in a historical context. Like this is the recurring theme of the last 8 decades that we're dealing with that's coming to a head now that you really got to answer for,
Yeah.
So I'll pick those 3.
So what projects you got coming out? What's
so
I'm down.
I just dropped an EP called Back to the Essence, where it's 3 songs and 3 instrumentals. Just because I wanted to get something brand new off my chest.
That's the one with the footstep?
Yep, the footstep, yep. And the reason I did that was because last year I dropped a couple singles, one called At the Date of This Writing and one called Lose No Time. Both of those singles were named after EPs that I made in like 2015 to 2016 that I feel like I didn't put enough push behind it. I really want people to hear those words. So I'm remixing the whole thing. And like the 2 singles were kind of like to kind of get people ready for the fact that I'm remixing the whole thing, because the topic of the singles is why are you giving us these songs over again instead of giving us some new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when it all comes out, it'll come together like, okay, you hearing this again, but I'm gonna explain why I needed to say it again. And then I can get on with whatever the hell else I was doing. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's next.
I think that's the other thing about you. If people know you or talk to you, like you're not putting out music just to put out stuff. You have a reason.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I'm saying? I've never not known you to be able, like if I ask you about a song that you're doing or you play me a song, you give me the reason of what the song is about. You've never not explained it like, yo, I'm doing this joint because of this going on, or I'm doing this joint because it connects to this. Like there's always a connection to it. You're not just rhyming to be rhyming,
That's my style, and like it's a gift and a curse because like this, like when I put an album together, I'm literally piecing the album together. Like I'll make a song, be like, oh, this is song number 4. And I'll make another song like, oh, this is song number 7. Like when you got cats that are really dope, like I think 50 might be the first person I heard talk about this, or like they'll do 40 songs and then pick 12 to make a banging album because every song had to run the gauntlet of being the best of those 40.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's an amazing process. That is nothing like the way I do it. I write a song like I'm writing a novel. Like if you think about a writer writing a novel, he's not writing 30 chapters to pick the best 15. He's writing a chapter and then another chapter and another chapter. And if he has a piece of the story that's coming later, he might write that because it's in there, but he knows where that goes in the story. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just my approach. That's always been my approach.
I'm on that vibe too, I think, because I'll be getting beats and I got some, you make the beat. So you'll make a dope beat, but you be like, this beat's dope, but it don't fit this project.
Yes. This
beat is fire. I get some beats, I'll be like, this beat is fire, but I'm like, I already kind of rhymed in that mood already on here.
Now there's definitely an advantage to having a mass of songs that you can pick the best from. I'm not knocking that methodology at all.
Yeah,
that's just not my process. I mean, like not yet. And you know what I'm saying? I think I'd like to say, as long as I've been doing this, I think I'm halfway done. So who knows? I might get into that bag one of these days. But I'm just speaking historically. I've always been like even if you listen to my records, you see a story arc, even if it's not one big story for the record. You know what I mean? It'll feel like, okay, now it's time. That was the hype song. Now it's time to chill out a little bit. All right, now it's time to even, mellow that out. All right, we got to bring it back up now because of that. Like, you know what? I saw this. Somebody was breaking down. I can't really credit who says it. I'm sure it's probably like a regular thing in writing class. But they say a good script, as you're writing the story, you're not saying and then, like this happened and then this happened and then this happened. That's not a good script. A good script is this happened, so this had to happen, and because of that, this had to happen, and then because of that, this had, like, there's a sequence to it. Like there's a a continuation of a cause and effect, as opposed to, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that happened, I'll just put it in order. This happened and then this happened. You're not going to end up with a good story. I think when I heard that and I started watching movies and reading books, like, okay, yeah, I see what he mean by that. And that's kind of the approach I've always taken to the music.
Yeah, I'm watching right now The Residence on Netflix.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Oh man, and it's ill like that, man. It's ill like what you just said. It's crazy. It's like a one of those mini series, but
yeah,
it's crazy as far as like it's a murder mystery. And it got you all over the place.
All right, I gotta check that out now.
It got you all over the place for 7. It's 8 episodes. We up to number 7. You still don't know what's going on. Who did what?
All right, that was in the queue. I gotta get out a second look.
But yeah, man. So let's get your social media and how to get in touch.
Yeah, it's real easy. Everything is Real J Live. So RealJLive, no dashes. RealJLive.com is the homepage. Twitter X Real J Live, Instagram Real J Live, Facebook is page.realjlive. If you just go to Google, type in Real J Live, all the stuff's gonna come up. Twitch, Mixcloud, you know what I'm saying? All of the extra, Threads, Blue Sky, all the, what I'm saying, whatever they come up with next, you know what I'm saying? TikTok, everything is just Real J Live. And you can holler at me, I holler back. I don't have any, social media handlers or anything like that. It's me talking crap, you know what I'm saying? So if you like what you hear, if you don't like what you hear, it's me. I said it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, just the homepage to have all of that. So just realjlive.com. You can send me an email directly from there too if you like. That's where the merch store is. You can cop the vinyl, the tapes, the CDs, the digital, the Bandcamp. Subscribe. The Patreon is also Real J Live. You know what I'm saying? It's all popping like that. Nice little ecosystem. I appreciate all my fans and supporters that are holding me down, man. That's let me do this for what is now 30 years of J Live.
Dope, man. Yeah, and like I said, man, I gotta thank you, man, for me, bringing me on the road with you, man. You could have had somebody else. Could have been anybody, man. To be real, it could be anybody.
Man, that was the whole 7 Head Squad, man. Me, you, Elder Sensei, Asheru, Blue Black, you know what I'm saying? Lamont, rest in peace, you know what I mean? Flo Fada,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? DL, you know what I mean? HB, all the cats, man. Everybody. I remember them days very fondly, man. Odyssey, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a massive. I feel like that could have been a song.
You was the flagship dude, man. Let's not. I know you want to be humble. I know you're gonna be humble. I know you're gonna be humble with it. But
I'll take it.
The reality,
yeah, that's a lot. Because I swear, man. As much as you talking, man, watching you come up You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when I met you, I was like, I don't know if you remember me, man. Yo, man, Wordsworth. Like you, I think I met you and Pops on the same day, or at least saw you and Pops on the same day. And I used to joke that's the same thing. Like, I got to introduce myself to these people when I meet them because I don't know if they're going to remember me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so don't, I'll take all of the accolades and the praise, but I gotta get this shit back, man. Cause I was at them Lyricist Lounge joints. I was at a lot of them. I saw the shows, you know what I'm saying, the MTV, you know what I'm saying? I saw, like, in terms of, like, when people ask me to this day, like, who was one of the illest people you know off the head, you're obviously top 3 and you're not 3, you know what I'm saying? So,
Thanks,
like,
man.
and
But
then,
you know, to be real, because you know, at that time, you know, Lyricist Lounge show, yeah, I did that. Then it ends, of course. So then I have to figure out how do I sustain, and you know, you help me feed myself,
what
my
you
family
did,
on the road with you. But I'm saying though, you know, it could, like I said, it could have been anybody that you
yeah,
wanted to choose. So that meant a lot for me because it helped me stay afloat to figure things out, you
no
know,
doubt.
until
And then after that, man, but I mean,
then I run it, but then I run into Ace too, you know. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm about to say you a
yeah,
strict, man,
but
crazy.
everybody, but you know, um I'm very understanding of knowing where I was and trying to figure it out. And y'all, you know, the grace of y'all helped me sustain to be where I'm at now because y'all gave me time to figure it out. Everybody needs time to figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
But case in point, you know what else is wild? The reason, actually, no, I think it was the other way around. I just remember there was that chain when we all went back to South Africa to do the joint.
Yeah.
So basically, I think, yeah, that's what it was. Static had put me on because he went out there with Bahamadia.
Right.
And then I was like, I told you, I was like, yo, they looking for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So then, like, fast forward, we've been to South Africa however many times, man. It's just
Right.
like, that's part of that whole collective of brothers looking out for each other, connecting people with other people, making sure that everybody gets what they need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think you're definitely one of the people that I think of when it comes to that carrying on tradition of actually reaching back, looking out like, oh, I got an opportunity for somebody else. I'm not just going to keep it to myself type thing. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
some cats is like that. Some cats you put on and then, you know, like I look to that song by De La Soul, In Focus.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to that song, they talking about how when De La was big, nobody cared about Black Sheep, but then by the time Black Sheep blew up, nobody cared about De La. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, it's like ups and downs of this whole, you don't love me for me, you just love me because I'm hot right now. You know what I'm saying? Some cats get hot right now and then they ain't got no time for nobody.
Nah, man. I've experienced some of that as far as like especially putting out music and then people see who I rap with, then they be like, yo, can you get me in touch with that person or whatever? But I'm fine. Or I contact the person and say, is it cool to give them your situation? Because everybody's trying to get money. If they're gonna pay you, I'm fine with that. I don't need man. We all making money and making music, and we all got families and all that other stuff that comes along with it. But I want to say thank you, man, for being on the show, being a friend, being I would say a mentor for me at that time, because like I was that's my first time going on the road like that as well, and for everything you done and have done and doing still. So shout out to J Live. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment, everything. All the things are going to be in the description. All the links to his stuff out there. And once again, shout out to J Live. And like always, I ask y'all, what are your words worth? Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Man, thank you, man.